Blue light, this is what we all are using right now while you're checking your cell phone, while you're on your social media, while you're on your computer. Blue light is what emanates from any of the tablets or devices that we use. And so that blue light affects something called melatonin. Melatonin is a hormone that we all make, and it regulates how sleepy we are and how wakeful we are. It also kind of affects your internal clock, which is called your circadian rhythm. So when you have blue light and it starts to affect your melatonin, that is what produces your eye strain and your headache. So we definitely need to make sure that we are combating blue light. So one of your settings on some of your phones, it has a blue light option. Turn it on so that you're getting less blue light as you're using your device. Glare is another big thing. So glare comes from the computer screen that you're using to get it from your TV. And so that really makes your eyes very tired. Typically, our eyes are not supposed to be access to glare. And so glare just makes the muscles of your eye work much harder. And then that is what creates your eyes to get tired. Your vision starts to get blurry. Sometimes double vision you've been gaining for a long time. And then the lack of blinking. So because we are staring at our devices all the time, we stop blinking as much. And so our eyes get very dry. They start to get itchy and red. And so sometimes people are using a lot of eye drops. If you can remember, blink is something very simple. Just blink and your eyes will be less dry because you don't like you using all of the eye drops for your eyes. They're not necessarily helping when you're using them in extended periods of time. So something very easy to do, which I know as gamers, we're not going to take a 20-minute break. However, if you can try to train yourself that after every game, at least for 20 seconds, you look far off into the distance at least 20 feet. So you can actually use your feet and march out 20 steps and like post something on the wall. And after every game, stop for at least 20 to 30 seconds and look at that object that's 20 feet away. That helps you refocus your eye and it helps you retrain your eyes and go back to what you're doing when you're gaming. Other ways that we can help with computer vision syndrome or digital eye syndrome are gaming glasses. So I know a lot of people say, oh, is this just a way to get your money? But actually it isn't. It can help against blue light, it can help against glare. And so those are definitely something that we are recommending in the medical community if you're going to be doing a lot of gaming. Another thing you can do is to hold the object further away. So typically, when our eyes are trying to look at something, it's about 20 feet away. But when you are having your phone or your tablet, that's about 18 to 24 inches away, or even your computer monitor, sometimes some people it's even closer. And so we're now having these tablets this close to our face, actually move the object back, and that can help with your eye strain. This is the thing that I see most commonly for gamers. So I'm a sports medicine doctor by training. I'm also a concussion specialist and a lifestyle medicine specialist. And so I see gamers that come into my office. I'm also a team physician for a professional esports team in this area. And so I focus a lot on our gamers, and so it's called gaming thumb. So when you start to get that pain right here on your thumb and your wrist, the fancy word is Aprobase tenosynovitis. But it's basically tendinitis of two tendons that come across your wrist. So if you take your finger and move your thumb back and forth and press it here, as if you're mimicking how you're using your controller, you can kind of feel these two things kind of sliding back and forth, two things that feel kind of broken. Those are your tendons. That's what gets inflamed from So I'm sure most people here, this is what your posture looks like. I'm guilty. If you see me, I'm hunched over, my arms are out far. When you're in that posture, it's terrible for you. You might be into a game, you might be playing better, but over time, if you want to continue to gain longer, gain better, increase your performance, you need to work on posture. So if you look to your left at my friend Carlos here, his back is hunched over. That's very bad posture. So you are kind of closing up the front part of your chest. Over time, you will start to get that little hump in the back that you see kind of old people have. You don't want that, you're young. So you really want to help you focus on your posture. Since I'm not sitting up straight up right now as I'm talking to you. And so when you're hunched over, your neck is really out, you're really straining those muscles in the back part of your neck. You're closing off the front of your chest wall. Your arms are out like this. You're pinching these tendons that come in your shoulder. It's called the rotator cuff. Then that's how you can know it's shoulder pain, back pain, elbow pain, wrist pain. We can help this. Actually, you can help yourself. Fix your posture. Dr. Martin says this is a good posture for you to have. So if you fix your posture, I know it looks weird. It's going to feel weird initially while you're doing it, but if you can be mindful while you're gaining at some point, say, oh man, I'm hunching over. Let me correct my posture. So that's really trying to sit with a very straight back. You're actually trying to pinch your shoulder blades back. Like that. You're trying to pinch your shoulder blades back, kind of engage those muscles that sit below the back of your spine. Your neck should be nice and neutral. And if your feet should be flat on the floor. If you're gaining, your elbows should actually be tucked in, kind of close to your body. It doesn't have to be super tucked in, but about close to your body, about 90 degrees. Out here, it's going to tear your shoulders up over time. Bring your arm back in, tuck it a little bit closer to your shoulder. That's going to save you a lot of shoulder and elbow pain. So this is really what the correct gaming posture looks like. I don't know if anybody in here has this posture. Correct. I see people shaking their head. No, I don't either, but I try to work at it. So I try to remind myself, I'm going to sit straight, have my feet on the floor, try and have my hips and knees at a neutral angle of 90 degrees. So this is something you guys should work on. At home, if you are gaming, if you can, if you have what's called an ergonomic setup, you are already winning. Meaning that you have a really good gaming chair, that's what you have. Your setup from your keyboard or your mouse or even your controller is at a very neutral position, at least about 24 inches away from you. So having something like this, and this is super fancy, I don't have anything like this. However, this is kind of the appropriate kind of gaming setup if you can. Or anything that's similar to, even if you just have your regular chair, just make sure you're sitting in it properly. A lot of things you guys can do to try and prevent this hand pain from coming, just like any traditional athlete, there's a warm-up, there's a cool down, they go through stretches, they go through strengthening exercise to make sure they can continue to play at the level that they would like. You need to be doing the same thing. So doing some very simple hand strengthening will actually help you gain longer, gain better, and increase your performance. So in this talk, I really added in just very basic things that anybody can do. Everybody has at home. There's nothing fancy dancy here, although we have a lot of that extra fancy equipment. These are very basic things to do. So the first one is a bucket of rice. Rice you buy that for $1. You put it in a pot or a bucket, and you are rolling your wrist around in the bucket of rice, and that's strengthening out your wrist. You're moving your hands, moving back and forth through the rice, strengthening up the muscles around your hand. And then you can get just a rubber band. Keep that rubber band in your pocket all throughout the day when you're thinking about it. You're just doing this motion. These are very simple things to try and strengthen your hand muscles. One other thing that's going to be key is improving your hand-eye coordination. But while you are doing that, you can also strengthen your hands at the same time. So one of the studies show that if you have at least 20 milligrams of zinc, it actually improves your hand-eye coordination. Most people don't know then move back and forth, watching the ball, catching the ball. That all starts to work on what we call your central vision. Juggling. It sounds clownish. It's not just for clowns, it's for gamers. Actually, if you start to juggle, obviously start with something soft, like an orange or socks, and you just start juggling. That's improving your hand and eye coordination so that you can move faster on the controller or your mouse. This is no endorsement at all. However, a lot of our professional athletes use this product or something similar. And so you can easily catch this. It's color coordinated. You start to catch this and it gets more advanced and kind of more color combinations that you use. All these things are very simple that you can do at home if you want to get any better. Sleep is the most underrated thing I will talk about today. People don't think that you need sleep. It's like, oh, I feel all right. It's not just how you feel. Sleep affects every single thing we do. So along with your nutrition and your exercise, sleep is up there as just as important. I know a lot of gamers are only getting around 4 to 5 hours of sleep at night, if that. So when you don't have enough sleep, it actually starts to affect your brain function. So you can't concentrate as much. Your memory starts to go. You have difficulty kind of solving more complex things. If you're really trying to stay focused in your game and you can't concentrate because you're sleepy, that's really going to affect your performance. When you sleep better, you perform better. And this whole talk is really about how to have performance enhancement, try to prevent injury. So these are things that are going to be key for you to take away. So sleep is key. Recovery is huge. So once you go to sleep, all your muscles have time to recover. You're using your hands and your wrists and your neck muscles all day long when you're gaming. They need to recover and kind of reset. Sleep helps to do that. One important thing that people don't know is that lack of sleep actually affects your ability to lose weight. Actually, people who sleep less weigh more, they gain more. It affects a hormone that allows you to be more hungry, so then you're eating more. And so obesity and sleep correlate. So when you have a lack of sleep, if you're getting 6 to 7 hours a day, ideally 7 to 8 is key. But if you're getting less than 6, then a main risk factor for obesity is your lack of sleep. We really need to make sure we're sleeping. Sleep hygiene is kind of what we call it in the medical community. How can you sleep better? So again, 7 to 8 hours are ideal. Even if you can get 6, that's okay, but 7 to 8 are really ideal. Making sure that you have a sleep schedule. Going to bed at the same time. Waking up at the same time. Even if you are sleepy and want to oversleep, wake up. So if you go to bed at 7 at night and you wake up at 7 in the morning, stick to that, even on the weekends, even if you had a long day. So once you're trying to regulate your sleep cycle and get on a sleep schedule, that will help you sleep better. It's also not just about how much sleep you're getting, it's the quality of sleep that you're getting. So if you're having a very restless, fit night, that sleep doesn't count because you never get into what we call deep sleep or your REM, your REM sleep. And that's really where you start to recover and your brain starts to recover. Avoiding caffeine is huge. At least about 4 hours, I see someone laughing, at least about 4 hours before you go to sleep. You should not try to have any caffeinated beverage. Again, turn on that setting on your phone for blue light. Get off of your devices at least 2 hours before you are to go to sleep. That is ideal. Stop checking Instagram. If you're trying to really go to sleep, shut it down. One other very easy thing to do that people think is kind of frou-frou, but it's getting something that's called a diffuser, and you're just putting essential oils in it. This has really been shown to help you fall asleep and relax. They're inexpensive. You fill it up with water. You buy specific essential oils like lavender, eucalyptus, chamomile. It helps you sleep and relax. If you turn that on, it just kind of puts a puff of steam in the air. If you turn that on at least 2 hours before you are wanting to fall asleep, it starts your relaxation process. And it really helps, and it smells good. So blue light, I know I keep coming to that, but that is a big cause of a lot of these things that are affecting your health and wellness as a gamer. So again, it impacts melatonin. It actually decreases the amount of melatonin, your sleep hormone.
When it does that, it disrupts your internal clock. It allows you not to sleep. When you don't sleep, it's hard for you to learn. It's hard for you to process. If you're really trying to focus on how to get a new move and get to the next level and you can't quite figure it out, you need to go to sleep. Melatonin is probably affecting your ability to make those decisions. Also, when you have decreased melatonin, which comes from blue light, it causes you to be hungry. It affects those hormones that increase your appetite. It also, which people don't really quite understand, that actually melatonin, decreased melatonin, actually can help to lead to obesity. It affects the hormone in your gut, or what we call your GI system, that then will help you to gain more weight. So all of these things really are key, especially because sometimes in the gaming community, we're not that active. So we are already at risk for obesity or being sedentary. And so when we add poor sleep into that, that just kind of worsens that cycle. So these are things that you can do. Allow me to help you help yourself. Nutrition is key. There's a lot of words on this slide. What you don't see on this slide are Doritos, potato chips, pop or soda, caffeinated beverages. Although I know that that is good, it's a very quick snack, it tastes good. That's kind of been generalized in the gaming community, that there's poor nutrition. These are foods that you can be eating every day that's going to enhance your performance, make you game better, and make you overall better. So these are some vitamins that are very specific for eye health and for brain health. People don't know that there's certain foods that you can eat that are going to help your eyes last longer, help your brain work better. So these are very simple takeaways. If you haven't, take a picture of the screen. These are simple foods that you can have. Here's some good choices for snacks throughout the day. If you don't want to get up, if you don't want to eat a meal, instead of grabbing that bag of chips, make yourself some trail mix the night before, but with these very specific nuts. These are the nuts that help your eye and your brain health. So instead of buying a pre-mixed bag from the store, make your own. And that way you know that you're getting better nutrition for that. Granola, it's a whole grain that helps your brain. These are things that are going to make you gain better. That's the whole purpose of you wanting to kind of get healthy and be well, is so that it can enhance your performance. Oranges and bananas, these are all handheld things you can eat. Have your controller in one hand, have your banana in the other. I cannot overemphasize the importance of water. It's not the caffeinated beverages, it's not the syrupy pop or soda. We need to have water. So even if you can have 64 ounces a day, which is the minimum amount of water, buy one water bottle. It's a 32-ounce bottle. Fill it up in the morning before you sit down to game, drink it, fill it up again. At least you know that you have had the minimum requirement for water in a day. It's very easy. For your protein, instead of eating something quick, get some jerky. Although jerky has some salt content to it, it at least is having a good protein that's going to help with your eye and your brain health, and I would rather you eat that than a salty bag of potato chips. Kale chips are an option too, if anyone's interested. That helps your brain and your eyes, and they taste good. So if you're struggling to kind of find what in the heck can I eat to try and make my eyes and my brain healthy, here's a very simple option for a meal. You don't necessarily have to eat this, but everything listed on this slide helps your eye and your brain. So these are very good things that you can eat for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Exercise, exercise, exercise. I'm a sports medicine doctor. What we are finding now, especially in the adolescent and pediatric population, kids are no longer exercising. We are recommending at least 60 minutes of exercise in a day, and most kids are getting well under that. That is leading to something that's called exercise deficit disorder. This is something we've never seen before in the medical community. We've never seen pediatric people, young kids, have weak muscles, no tone, no strength to their muscles, no what we call postural muscles, because they're sitting down, gaming all day, not going outside to exercise. We've never seen this. So this is something that is really important to us in the medical community. We need to make sure that kids are getting out at least 60 minutes a day for moderate to vigorous physical activity. For adults, we need at least 30 minutes a day, at least 5 days a week. When you exercise, it improves your performance. These are very simple things to do. Even if you don't go to a gym, maybe can't afford a gym, don't like being at the gym, there's exercise programs you can do at home. There's all kind of exercise apps. All you need is a 2 or 5 pound weight and an exercise ball for $5. And you can really get in a very good program at home, at least 30 minutes a day for us adults. Mental health is huge. And I think maybe in May, there was a lot of controversy surrounding something called gaming disorder that we will get to. When you see a lot of the negative publicity about gaming, when you hear about kids going to college on scholarships for gaming, the parents are concerned about the mental health component. But what I always like to do is actually focus on the positive parts of gaming and mental health. There are a lot of studies that are out there, especially in the young kid population, that's showing that actually gaming increases their ability to be social and their communication skills. So that is very good. There are also some very good benefits of having what we call a sports psychologist. That's a person who really talks about sports. So again, like I said, I'm a team doctor for a professional esports team in this area. They meet with a sports psychologist every week. And they are talking about how they get in the zone. So you know when you're gaming, you're really trying to get to that next level, there's a certain zone that's beneficial, and then there's a certain zone that it's not beneficial. So this is about how you focus and get in the zone. It's about coping skills. When you are playing in a big tournament and you lost, and now you go home and you're sad or you're depressed, this is how we are talking you through coping with losing. It's a part of being a competitive person. If you're going to game, it's part of the game. And doing things like visualization, kind of seeing the next level you want to get to, seeing that next token that you want to get, is about mental toughness, or what we call mental fortitude. So there are a lot of good things that happen about mental health in gaming. Some of the not so good things, there are several studies that show that kids who game or are exposed to a computer or social media actually have increased risk of depression and anxiety. So this is something real. I'm not glossing over that. We see that a lot in the medical community. There's a lot of social isolation for gamers because you may be in your home all the time, playing a game, maybe talking to someone on your headset and never really going outside. And then that's what leads to gaming disorder. It's really just about making sure you are aware of some of the signs and symptoms of depression and anxiety. If you hear, it's about you checking on your friends also. So maybe if you're kind of tuned out to kind of what everyone's doing, you're a little bit sad, you're not really interested in doing anything else, or you're talking to your friend and you hear on their headset they just kind of sound down, check on them, because depression and anxiety is a big problem in the gaming community, but not one that we can't overcome. This is what all the controversy has been about, gaming disorder. So this is now an official medical diagnosis throughout the entire world. Something called the World Health Organization came out with this diagnosis a couple months ago, and the gaming community is in an uproar. The medical community, we're a little bit kind of on the fence. Is gaming an addiction? And it really is about taking the time to decide how much activity you are doing outside of gaming. So gaming disorder is really a pattern of behavior which you're gaming, and it's just taking control over everything you do in life. You're not going out with your family to dinners. You're not meeting your friends at the movies. You're not engaging other people that you normally would. Gaming is taking priority over everything that you do. You're not even taking a bath or a shower because you want to game. You're missing meals and not eating because you want to game. And it's also, if there's something that negative has happened, but yet you still continue to game, that's also one of the components of gaming disorder. So someone potentially who may be betting and losing a lot of money on gaming, that's a negative consequence, but yet they still continue to do it to an excessive level. So gaming disorder is real. It is now an official medical diagnosis, but we are very cautious in using that here, at least in the United States. When you talk about other countries like Korea or Japan, where they really have a huge problem with mental health and gaming disorder and gaming addiction, it kind of fits more into how they game versus how we game in the US. So this is something key, and we're coming towards the end of the talk. This is about recovery. This is what I do with my professional athletes. If you look at any of these professional athletes that are out there, they have a very good recovery program. You know, if you're watching ESPN or something like that, you see them kind of getting into an ice bath after a game. That's called recovery. So some of the things that we have access to as a professional esports team that most people don't have access to is something called a desensitization tank, or you hear people call it a float tank. This has a lot of benefits for gamers. You can actually get in this tank. You don't hear, you don't see, you don't smell. It's just salt, and it actually just allows your brain to just kind of have what we call like a brain dump. And you're just floating in there. It recharges your muscles, it recharges your brain, and so we can get a lot of a way to kind of come down after a big game or a big tournament. You get into the float tank. That's that big egg-looking thing. The cylinder is the cryotherapy. And so you get in this for about 30 to 60 seconds, depending on how cold it is. It is supposed to be very good for your muscles and to have a quick recovery. And then yoga. And people laugh at yoga, but especially for gamers, when you're sitting for a long period of time, doing yoga is actually something that can be very beneficial to help you game longer and to make sure that your neck and back are staying strong. This is just a very simple suggestion on how you can warm up at home, how you can cool down at home. Just like any athlete that's out there, they are doing this before they do any practice, before they do any game. So before you are getting set up on your station and game for the day, do this very simple regimen. Neck stretching. You hold each of these movements for about 30 seconds. So you're holding your head to one side, then you hold it down. You hold it to the other. You hold it back. Very simple. And we do it. It feels really good, actually. It's something you should do throughout the day. But at least you're getting your neck kind of loosened up at the beginning of the day. The other thing you can do is kind of doing your neck like a turtle. So it's like sticking your neck really far out and then smushing it all back and making like a double chin. So you're holding it out like a turtle for 30 seconds. You're moving it back and holding it like a double chin for 30 seconds. This gets those muscles in the back of your neck and the front of your neck warmed up. It gets them loose. This is something you can do throughout the day. I just saw someone doing this here in the audience, stressing your wrist and your forearm. So when you're doing this technique, not only is it helping your wrist, it's going into the muscles all the way in your forearm that come all the way up to here. A lot of gamers have pain on the outside part of their elbow. We kind of call it tennis elbow. We're now starting to call it more gaming elbow. So doing these very simple stretches helps all these muscles in the forearm. It helps your wrist. And then you flip it over and you do it up that way. Finger stretching. This looks weird. People probably say, what the heck are you doing? Trying to put your thumb to every one of your fingers, holding that for about 30 seconds. That's doing a nice warm stretch. Gaming thumb, which is huge, holding your thumb out, and then tucking your thumb in and putting your wrist down. That is going to stretch out those tendons that sit right through there, which is what happens when you have a gaming thumb. Back and hip stretching. This is key. You're sitting for a long period of time. I'm sure everyone has very tight hamstrings, which will not allow you to touch the ground when you're bending forward, but this stretches your back, this stretches your hamstrings, this stretches your glutes, so that's an excellent stretch for you to do. And then this other one is with you seated in like a figure four position. That stretches the outside part of your hip, your butt muscles, all those things that get tight while you're sitting. That's kind of the end of this talk. I know I'm going to leave some time for some questions, especially if you don't have time or don't want to go and see a physician, if you may just want to get some very general advice or any questions about the talk. Yes? Yes.
I've just heard some conflicting things about cryotherapy. I was really into it at first, but I've heard some lawsuits happened about it. Like, I don't know if it was they were in the tank too long or there was a malfunction, but I think some overexposure can happen very quickly. And maybe it would be good if it's done in microbursts, but I've just seen that there's not a fully understood application for it yet. So, I was hoping we could also talk about the risks and, what we should weigh when we're considering those options as well.
So yes, cryotherapy is still a little controversial, even actually in the sports medicine community. Some people believe in it, some people don't. Just a few days ago, one of the top NFL players burned the bottom of his feet in cryotherapy while he was in France. Now he can't play football for a while because his feet are raw. So you have to make sure you're going to a place that obviously has all the appropriate equipment. You should have covering on your hands and on your feet. But we are finding that there is some benefit for very quick muscle recovery, along that it comes with some risk. So if you have access to it, it's not inexpensive. But if you do have access to it, it's something you should at least try out.
So I know a big part of eating healthy is cooking and not eating out all the time. I really wanted to try and learn how to cook meals for myself and everything like that. Are there any good starting meals or any services? I know there's Blue Apron. Any good ways to get started with just wanting to cook for yourself if you've never really done it before?
Thank you.
Check.
So yes, there are all kind of services that are out there. They are also sometimes can be a bit pricey. They are very convenient, but some very simple things you can do is get yourself a crock pot. In a crock pot, so if you're in college, if you're in a dorm, if you're in a small apartment, you can make steel-cut oats for an entire week in a crock pot, and then you just kind of put it in its own containers. And then start with doing something very simple, roasting some vegetables. So what I usually suggest is doing what's called a meal prep. So you take one day out of the week, usually I do it on Sunday, and I meal prep for all week. So I get a bunch of broccoli, Brussels sprouts, sweet potato, olive oil, salt and pepper, put them in the oven for 40 minutes. You don't have to know how to cook. All you have to do is know how to cut the oven on and be careful taking the pan out. You do that, you make some brown rice or some quinoa, and then you have a very healthy way to eat. So at least that's two basic meals that you can have as you're starting to learn. But there's all kind of websites and services that are convenient. Yeah.
Feel free to raise your hand if you have a question.
Hi, doctor. I noticed that on your talk on blue light, it's important to have it 2 hours off your eyes before you go to sleep, right? I've noticed there are some digital substitutes where they do an orange light filter, such on smartphones and computers. What's your... Sorry? Is this better?
Speak up just a bit.
Is this better? So, okay. So on the topic of blue light, you mentioned that it's good to have it 2 hours off your eyes before you go to sleep. However, there are some programs and apps that allow you to have an orange light filter to reduce blue light. What's your take on that?
That is good. So, it is really the blue light that we are finding is harmful as far as it decreasing your melatonin. However, being on still a screen or on a device still keeps your eyes going, which then makes your brain still work, which still keeps you active. And so when you're starting to kind of start the sleep or rest process, your body needs to start to cool down. When you're doing more activities, it doesn't start that cooling process. So the orange light is much better than the blue light, but still being on a device has a few other reasons of why we would like for you to be off of it. But that's a fantastic start.
Thank you.
Do you have any exercises you recommend for posture adjustment?
Any neck exercises?
Yeah.
So, obviously just doing those gentle stretching, which looks very weird, is you can get kind of one of those very thin resistance bands. It's just like the little stretchy band. This is going to sound weird. You actually have to do it with caution. But if you kind of tie it to a doorknob and then tie it like a headband, and you're doing this, and you're moving your head against the resistance of the band, making sure it's a very light band, and you're being very careful. Even sometimes you can lie just off of your bed with your head hanging and do simple things such as lifting it up, moving it to the side, and those are things that are actually starting to build the muscles in your neck.
Thank you.
Yeah. We have time for 2 more questions, if there are any out there. Okay, well, thank you for listening. Level up, stay healthy and well.